The big names like Franco Spina and Kumar Kunath Nam, who have died in UK detention centres, in Brook House and various places. These the inhumanity of these locations. Another young man has just died in Brook House. You'd think that the centre itself would now come with a health warning because of the huge number of people. It's 37 or something who have died in Brook House or after leaving Brook House. I hope it reignites the debates about the treatment of detainees and the broader human rights concerns within the UK's immigration detention system. Brook House, operated by Serco for the Home Office, has long been a site of contention, with past inquiries highlighting cases of abuse, violence, inadequate response to detainees' welfare, and so on. And despite a 2017 BBC Panorama expose that led to a public inquiry revealing 19 abuse cases, only one of 33 recommendations has ever been implemented. Activists, including the Gatwick Detainees Welfare Group, describe the centre as a prison, with prison architecture. It looks genuinely inhumane. It's not a place where somebody should ever take their last breath. In such conditions, Amnesty International has called for urgent reform, linking ongoing tragedies like this death to the systemic failure in recognising detainees' rights and dignity. And the Home Office has extended condolences, as it always does, with as much anonymity as possible, but ongoing calls for reform indicate a pressing need for the government to address the conditions in which people are being detained. And there's a person called Amir who was interviewed, and he described a place called Harmondsworth and his subsequent release lays bare the silent agony endured by detainees with the UK's immigration removal centres, set in hidden fortress-like compounds. These centres function as isolated worlds out of sight and largely out of mind for the public. Harmondsworth, with its deliberately concealed location near Heathrow, underscores a calculated invisibility. Detention is not only meant to physically isolate detainees, but to sever their connection to British society altogether. For detainees like Amir, this experience represented a symbolic as well as a physical separation, making them feel less human under the indifferent gaze of a state apparatus geared to strip away agency, dignity, any sense of belonging. And the narrative of Britain's immigration detention system, traced back to its colonial and post-colonial anxieties, even to the extent of putting people on a barge, reveals a troubling history of defining citizenship against an other. Built originally as holding facilities for Commonwealth citizens in the post-colonial empire, these centres have evolved into complex spaces where national identity is guarded through exclusion. As Amir observes, the institutional hostility detainees experience is likely the product of training, reinforcing a boundary not just of law but of humanity. And the guards seem to be chosen to be as difficult, as inhuman as possible. Amir's release, and these people are not criminals. These people have just fallen foul of the system. Amir's release was tinged with disquieting mix of joy and guilt. His moment of freedom, standing in full view of the detention centre across an open field, must remind us of the profound impact that these places have, shaping the lives and psyches of those who pass through them. It evokes questions about the ethical dimensions of such spaces in a society that prides itself on justice and compassion. challenging the British people to reckon with a system that claims legality at the expense of humanity. We have an idea that the only people who go to prison are criminals who have violated the law in some grotesque way. And yet, we have places like Harmondsworth. We have these detention centres. Even people are sort of like Kumar Kunarath Nam died in Wormwood Scrubs. He was treated as a prisoner. Frank Ospina died in the Heathrow Centre. These the Albanian fellow who died in the Bibby Stockholm. These are all calls for a change. Calls from beyond the grave for a change. And the bodies pile up. It's shocking in the 21st century. And yes, I'm sure somebody in the comments section is going to say they're illegal migrants. Well, they're illegal simply because Suella Braverman passed a law that defined the mode of entry as making somebody illegal. That is not what the International 1951 Refugee Convention says. Sorry. And it's a law which needs repealing.